Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kambiz, and this is my guest, Alaina Levine.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Move Science Forward, the Biz with Dr. Kambiz. I'm a biotech scientist and company builder, and on this series, it's my pleasure to welcome different leaders and pioneers in the biotech space, life sciences space, and also people with careers in adjacent spaces like Alaina Levine, who's been a coach for scientists and biotech leaders for many years. Alaina, thanks for coming on to the show. To start, I know you have a new book that's just out. Could you tell us a little bit about the book?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kambiz. It's such a pleasure to be on your show. I just love how you run your life and your career, and it's just such a wonderful model for all of us. And it's a wonderful model of how to build what I call your unicorn career. And that's coincidentally the title of my next book, Create Your Unicorn Career. So my book is about how to build a unicorn career, which I define as an authentic, customized career. It is aligned with your values, so it allows you to be yourself 100% of the time. And best of all, Kambiz, it's a career that brings you joy, meaning, and money because you have got to get paid. And so I have a background in math and physics, as you know, and I built a data-driven model, which I put into the book. And it's about how to build a plan to figure out what your unicorn career could be, and then how to build an executable action plan to actually achieve that. And it's all about collecting data about yourself, the opportunities, and then building a bridge of marketing between the two. And you know what, Kambiz, it very much mirrors the entrepreneur's journey.
Very cool, Alaina. A couple of things, and for people joining in, this is a live series, and it's a real conversation. I'm going to chime in with my thoughts. Alaina can ask me questions. It can go however a normal coffee chat can go, and we're going to have a coffee. Mine is a cappuccino from one of my favorite spots called Ludlow Coffee Supply. What are you having?
So I am nursing a little bit of a cold, so I have some chamomile tea with honey in it.
COVID or cold?
It's now chilled because it's been sitting out for a little while, but it was hot at one point.
So, Alaina, you said you were in math and physics starting out. Yeah. How did you go from math and physics to a career in careers?
So I think, Kambiz, you and I share this because for your listeners and your viewers who may not know, you and I go back maybe not even decades, but centuries. We went to high school together.
Right.
And so,
long time ago.
And so, decades, literally in the last millennium, is when we went together. And I remember how much you enjoyed science and how much you excelled in life sciences, and especially, and I've always loved the physical sciences. And so I envisioned being an astrophysicist. And I went to the University of Arizona specifically to become a theoretical astrophysicist. But something funny happened on the way to the quasar. And I realized that as much as I love STEM, I did not want to be the one doing the scientific research.
Now, why not?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Why not?
Because there was so much more that I wanted to do. See, I've always loved, I think about it, Kambiz, and I wonder if you've had a similar situation where you can trace back throughout your entire life multiple threads that have always been woven through your life that defines who you are. And for me, it's always been STEM, performing arts, communications, the written and the spoken word, and commerce and business. I've loved business for many years. So I wanted to create a career that combined all four, but I didn't know that that was possible. So I took the road that made sense to me at the time, which was to study physics. And then I switched my degree to math because I loved the nakedness of numbers. Like, I just wanted to solve the equations. And I still do that for fun. Like, I still do math puzzles and think about math for fun. But I'm more interested in helping people who want to study STEM and help them to understand that there's a multiverse of career opportunities for them.
So how did you go from studying math and physics to career space?
To get into the space. So what happened was, as I was graduating in 1996 with my degree, and you probably remember this, all of a sudden that year, or approximately around that year, the economy in the United States changed for the better. Before that, the economy was very bad. But suddenly the economy was better. There were more jobs. And I went to my mathematics advisor and I asked Dr. Math, what else could I do for a career? Because I knew I did not want to be just a mathematician. And Dr. Math turned to me and I said, can I know I could be a teacher and a professor and go into actuarial studies. He turned to me and said that there was nothing that I could do with a career, and then spoke to me like I was a failure because I didn't want to be a clone of him. And so that concept of that there was nothing out there, it enraged me, it perplexed me, but it birthed and sparked this new idea of a unicorn career. I worked in science communications in the University of Arizona Physics Department for 4 years, doing all sorts of different things that married those 4 threads together. And then I took on a role in the dean's office of the College of Science, also at the University of Arizona, where I managed a master's program that combined science and business. And I did that for the early 2000s. My job was getting my students jobs in industry. So that's where I really got a great interest in this subject.
So I have a little timer also,
Ooh,
just to make sure that I don't talk too much and we don't bore everyone. And I'm going to, it's 13 minutes. I got it in Abu Dhabi. There's a place there called the Abrahamic Family House, which is one of my favorite places in the world. It has a mosque, a church, and a synagogue all in the same area.
My goodness, that's
it's amazing.
That's amazing.
And we won't end when this goes, but it just, because I'm not looking at my watch, I don't have a watch.
I love it.
Just give me a sense of timing.
I love
Maybe
it.
We'll flip it twice.
Shukran, my friend.
When you talked about the shift, it reminds me when I was getting my PhD, there was a time that I really wanted to quit because I was studying for 8 years, taking on very tough projects, and sometimes it feels hopeless. Like it feels like you're banging your head against the wall and the results are just not coming, and you're working really, really hard, nonstop. But when I was thinking of quitting, I felt very doomed because my knowledge base was deep, but it was so narrow. And I was thinking, I don't know anything else. Like I was thinking, if I quit, like maybe I have to become a hot dog vendor or something like that. Have you seen scientists or people who are very specialized when they decide they want to switch careers where they feel like there's nothing else they can do? And how do you respond?
Well, yeah, and I had the same challenge, right, studying mathematics, and then Dr. Math had that same challenge when he was trying to communicate to me what else I could do. And so the way I look at it is that particularly, we see this a lot in academia, we see this a lot in research, but to be honest with you, I see this across other disciplines and professions as well, is that too often we are trained and educated in a space, and that space becomes like a two-dimensional plane. So if you think about my advisor, Dr. Math, he only knew the tenure track faculty job path in a research state university, and that is a two-dimensional plane. So he could not advise about other opportunities that were out there because he existed on a plane that was two-dimensional. And just like an ant walking around on the ground doesn't see other ants or hazards or holes or opportunities, he could not see where there were other opportunities where somebody with an interest in math and performing arts and business and other things could actually create a unicorn career. Mm-hmm. When I work with scientists, which is the primary audience and clientele that I have, scientists and engineers and STEM educated professionals just like you, it's really about helping you to understand that you may feel like you are in a plane of existence, but it's not the only plane. That what I say is the multiverse is your playground. And
it's also amazing how much teachers can influence someone, right?
Yes.
Good ones and bad ones. And, it's, I think, a real crime when teachers just demotivate their students.
100%. Yeah. I think about the fact that if I had just let Dr. Math's point to me sort of settle in my heart, and I thought, oh, there's nothing I could do, how miserable I would be, how upset I'd be. I'd have bad mental health. I wouldn't be able to do my best work for my community, my clients. I wouldn't be able to honor myself. And that is the challenge when we have advisors. Now, some advisors, as you and I both know, are very well-meaning. They just don't have the vocabulary and the knowledge of the multiverse of opportunities. Mm. And if Dr. Math had been truly wise, he would have said, I don't know of anything, but let me work with you to see what else there could be. Just that question or that offer would have opened up a doorway to something else. And it might be that he still has nothing, but he was still planting the seeds, admitting that he didn't know. But that's not how he behaved.
Yeah, shifting gears a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get an update on this too. I know that at some time, I think you wrote more than 1,000 articles on careers, and at some time you were writing a column for Science Magazine on careers. Can you describe, that series and also how you got it? Like for someone who wants to be a writer, it's amazing to land the column in one of the world's most prestigious scientific journals.
Thank you. And just to clarify, it's just over 500 articles. I've spoken over 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. So I'm also a professional speaker, as you know. So
just 500.
Yeah, I've only just written. Yeah. I didn't mean it like that, but I wanted to make sure it was clear. Yeah. So I've been a freelance writer since the 90s. My first article was for $50 for a local Tucson, my first paid article, I should say. My first print article was actually in, I think, the Princeton newspaper, I think, near where you and I grew up. It was about a play that had been put on in McCarter Theater, if I recall correctly. But my first paid written piece was for a local newspaper in Tucson. So I've always wanted to write. I've always been a writer. I wrote a lot for my jobs.
What was your first paid article about?
And then, sorry, what did you say, Kambiz?
What was your first paid article about?
It was about, let me think for a second. I think it was about so it was for a magazine called the Arizona Jewish Post, and it was $50, and it was about, I think, an expert in desalination who was based in Israel, had come to Tucson to give a talk about the science behind it. Mm-hmm. And so that was what, if I recall correctly, and thinking back, this is 30 years ago, so I don't know the exact, but that is my recollection. And I wrote another article for them later as well. And then, but I wrote a lot for my job. And then I started pitching articles. And then the way I got into Science Magazine is as I was, so in 2008, I was informed that I was being laid off from my position. I was on what's called a soft money job. So I was in a grant funded role at the University of Arizona. The grant was concluding. It was the Great Recession. So the program was being sunsetted and my job was being eliminated. And so I knew I needed to bring in money quickly.
How much time did you have?
Well, actually what happened was I went to a biotech conference, and while I was at that conference, I got an email from the finance manager of my department saying my position was being eliminated. So while I was on a business trip for my boss, I was told that my job was being eliminated at a biotech conference, coincidentally. So what happened was the nature of my job at the U of A was not exactly unique, but it's a state job. I was a state employee. They had to give me notification because I was on a contract by a certain date. And unfortunately for them, they did not do it within that deadline. So that meant they had to renew my contract for a year. So even though I was laid off, I actually ended up having an entire year beyond that. So I used that time very strategically to network, to build my profile, and then to start reaching out to editors. Mm-hmm. And the way I got the Science Magazine engagement and started writing for them, and now I've been writing for them since 2008, I believe, regularly, was because I actually if I recall correctly, I cold called an editor or cold emailed him, and I pitched him an article about a scientist that designs toilets. And he was intrigued, and that was my very first Science Magazine article. It's called The Toilet Technologist.
Wow.
So fast forward, I wrote many, many articles for them over the many years. And then I started this concept in the, I can't remember, I started this concept of building your unicorn career, first in an article in Nature Astronomy magazine that was published in January of 2018. And then throughout 2018, I was delivering speeches about how to build your unicorn career and pitching and talking to my editor at Science Magazine about launching a new column that we decided to solidify in 2018 called Your Unicorn Career. And so then the column was launched in February of 2019, and it ran for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And fascinating about a scientist involved in toilet design. Like, am I correct assuming it was one of these fancy Japanese toilets with like all kinds of gadgets?
It wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was, and in fact, I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a company that was based here in the United States. So it could have been Kohler. I just don't remember which company it was. But he was looking at how to use his science and engineering background to improve the efficiency of the toilet and the design of the toilet and the microbial coatings within the toilet. I mean, it just reminds us, Kambiz, that science is in every freaking thing. And this was a great example of that.
Right. When you think of the clients, like at these events when you speak, or if someone reaches out to you after reading an article, how does that typically go? Like, how do you coach them? Do you have a one-on-one session with them, or is it ongoing? If someone wants to get your advice, your help, do you offer services? How do they contact you? What kind of work do you do?
Yeah, thank you for that. And we'll put into the show notes. I offer any of your listeners a free consultation, and usually it's a free career consultation. It'll be my Calendly, so any of you can take advantage of that. So it starts with a conversation. We want to make sure that you and I would be good collaborators. And the type of coaching that I provide typically falls either under career coaching, so helping you advance and build your unicorn career, speaking coaching, so helping you be a better speaker to land more contracts, more funding, more influence, or to transition into being a paid professional speaker like myself, and entrepreneurship coaching. Because as you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I taught entrepreneurship to science and engineering grad students for years at the University of Arizona. And I've consulted and coached and written and spoken about entrepreneurship for many years too. Those three areas of the speaking coaching, career coaching, and entrepreneurship coaching, obviously they will often interweave together. And so
how does it, for a client who decides to work with you, how does it normally look? Is it once a month you guys touch base, or how does what's the average engagement like?
Yeah, so when I work with individuals, typically they're booking me. We can meet once a month, but they're purchasing packages. The packages are typically in either groups of 5 sessions or 12 sessions. And some clients want to meet every month. Some clients want to meet every week, depending on what package they're interested in. I provide more accessibility. So for the 12 session package, they're getting more of my time, more of my accessibility. They're getting more opportunity to have emergency appointments with me. And it's really making sure that I'm providing a service for that client and adjusting, sometimes even in real time as their needs come up. So let's say I had a client who was on the job market, they're applying for a job and they got an interview. Great. They can't wait 2 weeks to meet with me for an interview prep session. So I'm going to meet with them that evening and we're going to work out the interview prep. And if they're delivering a talk as part of their presentation, as part of their interview, we're going to do that, in the early morning. And so I really try to make myself available to my clients. And then when I work with organizations, they often will hire me to coach their teams, similar types of things, but it's more on the speaking, communications, and influence building coaching, as opposed to other areas as well. And that also is going to be different. Every single client is different. I adjust because I want to make sure I'm delivering the value that's relevant for them.
Yeah, and speaking of interviews, I'm curious what your thoughts are on how AI is impacting this space. Like, for instance, 2 things pop to mind. We actually have another common high school friend, Michael Patchin, who, I don't know if you're aware, he started an AI company that interviews high-level people in the finance space, and his whole thing is about much more human native interviews where many candidates can be processed, but they don't feel like they're talking to a computer. Yeah. And they appreciate, they know it's AI, but it feels very, very authentic. Curious about your thoughts on just the AI impact, as well as not just on interviewing, but also when people apply for a job, like on LinkedIn or sending their CVs. And right now, it's job providers are getting flooded by resumes that are quickly created by AI tools, and a lot just gets buried because everyone puts the keywords in their outreach. Everyone is searched. All these resumes are searched by AI. So the human element has, I think, been lost in the recruiting process. How do you come across that in your career coaching
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And by the way, I did not know that Michael had this opportunity that he had created. And I just want to wish him a mazel's from far away. I'm so thrilled
Yeah,
to hear
it's a new startup he has, I think, for about a year or so. And
that's
specifically,
amazing.
I think maybe it's his first focus, but specifically in for the finance.
I love it.
As you know, he used to be in a hedge fund and a
Yeah,
math computer person, specifically in the finance space on the HR end of
I
things.
love it. I love it. And so thank you for telling me that. And again, congrats to Michael. So here's the thing I think about with AI. We know they're using it. We know the employers are using it. We know the candidates are using it. So we're both going to use it. We're going to just use it responsibly. We're going to use it strategically, and we're going to use it effectively so it doesn't remove our own humanity into it. So we can use it for the basics of, editing resumes, editing cover letters, coming up with a strategy and task list for applying for roles and things like that. But you just said the most important thing, which was losing the human touch. We cannot lose the human touch. And this is why networking is so absolutely imperatively important. See, networking, where we build win-win relationships over time in the spirit of generosity, is really how we get access to hidden opportunities. And that's where we get a human-to-human connection who can then literally usher us or vet us or bring us, down the physical or metaphorical hall to the decision maker. All of us, no matter what job we're in, whether we are in the recruiting business or not, we are looking to reduce our risk. We are looking to solve problems, but we have to reduce our risk. And so anything we can do to reduce our risk, we're going to be mindful of and want to engage in. And if we can get a referral, if we can get another human or get to know that human, that's going to give us the chance to actually want to move that person forward in the process. So the way to combat AI is through the humanity aspect of it.
So Alaina, I asked you to send in a few pictures because I want to share things that our guests do, and
Yes.
this is a picture of you, very enthusiastic looking, speaking to a crowd of, it looks like, recent graduates. What is this event? What are we seeing here?
So what you're seeing there, and thank you for this. And by the way, you're the only person who, I do a lot of podcasts, as you know, and you're the only person who's ever done the podcast in such a creative way. So I wanted to just give you some kudos. Mabruk, my friend. So this is a picture of me. I was invited to be the keynote speaker for the commencement at the University of Arizona College of Science. So the keynote. So that is about, I think there's about 2,000 people or so in that auditorium, in that hall.
You don't look nervous, for sure. I can tell you that.
Yeah, no, I'm not nervous, but there's a story behind why I'm not nervous, and that's the key. But the most important thing there, of course, was that they gave me the fabulous hat, right? That they gave me the hat, and they got me the academic regalia. Do you remember, Kambiz, wearing your academic regalia when you graduated?
Not at all.
Did you walk when you finished your PhD?
Yeah. But yeah, actually, yes. But I don't. I can't even remember it.
I can't even remember.
Yeah.
You had a lifetime of lifetimes since then. I love it. So what happened was the reason why I'm not nervous there. Well, let me also point out a couple of things. If you take a look in that picture, you'll see my shoes.
Yes.
And so I am wearing my rainbow Chucks, my rainbow Converse All-Stars. And if you remember Kambiz, that was also one of my go-to shoes in high school. I always wore my Converse high tops. And I've always worn Converse high tops. In fact, I got married in Converse high tops, which you saw as well because you were at the wedding party. And so I specifically wanted to wear my rainbow Converse high tops because I wanted to communicate my authenticity to the graduates. This is who I am. I wore my purple hair, I had my sparkly eyeshadow, and I wore my rainbow sneakers because that is who I am. And the reason I'm not nervous in this picture is because what happened was weeks prior or months prior to this event, they actually required me to write the speech up in a literal script to submit it to them so that they could prepare the closed captioning. And that is not how I typically deliver speeches. My speech style is I have slides, I have notes, but I'm very improvisational. I know you are as well when you deliver talks too. But this required word for word on a piece of paper. And so I started writing it months in advance, and I began to wake up in the middle of the night nervous out of my freaking mind, like staggers in my stomach, in my diaphragm type of nervous. And I was like, what in the actual heck is going on? And I was able to trace the nervousness back to a moment when I was in performing arts camp in Mercer County Community College during a summer performance arts camp, where I wrote a monologue and acted out a character as a stand-up comedian. And I delivered this monologue as a stand-up comedian, and I was awful. The jokes bombed. They were terrible. I was awkward on stage. I totally sucked, totally bombed, and I was out nervous and cringe and awkward out of my mind. And I realized as I was writing the speech that that was the same feeling. And what happened was, the reason why I realized that this was the same feeling was because I was writing things into my speech for my commencement that was inauthentic to me, just like I had done decades ago at MC's Cubed on that stage. And then that was like the game changer. I ripped up the speech, started again, put that story into the speech about the importance of honoring your authenticity. And when I took the stage, the calmness that I had, the serenity, was so sublime that I did things on the stage in that speech improvisationally. I still stuck to the script, but I moved around, as you see in this picture, in ways I didn't even expect, because I had such command. I was so calm and I was so comfortable in my own skin, knowing that I would deliver the best performance. And I did. And I was so proud.
And what's this photo?
All right. So this picture, I wanted to share this with you because this picture is from you and I, our high school yearbook, West Windsor Plainsboro High School.
I also had hair back then.
You had hair back there. I was much skinnier back then. Class of 1990, blah, 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 1992. And as you'll see, it says individuality is the key to happiness. And so this was the picture that I put in my yearbook. And reason why I want to share this with you and your readers was because I always looked forward to Halloween, and I made my costume months in advance, even as a senior. So here I am as a 17-year-old or 16-year-old at this point. No, actually,
a good friend of mine is the head of the New York City Halloween parade. If you're ever in town, we should.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
dude, like we're literally networking in live on your show, literally right now, finding out about hidden opportunities. We need to talk about that.
It's a lot of fun. You're always welcome.
I want to join you for that. I think you and I should do something for that. Anyway, the costume that I did that year says it's a man, meaning Alaina, a man, defender of geeks and nerds everywhere. And the reason why I wanted to share that with you were two reasons. Number one, when I launched my column, Your Unicorn Career, in 2018, 2019 in Science Magazine, this was the photograph that accompanied the first issue. And the whole point was, you can be yourself. You can honor yourself, and individuality is the key to happiness. But the other thing I wanted to point out is that I've always been a nerd. I've always been a defender of nerds, and this is my thing. And I love nerds, and I'm a nerd, and I'm proud to honor and support other nerds.
Very
and it's
cool.
been that so many years.
And where are you speaking here?
So this is also a nerdly endeavor. So this was one of my most exciting and unusual keynote invitations. I was invited to keynote the 2024 eclipse. So as you recall, we had a total eclipse in 2024 in the southeastern United States, and the University of Arkansas. This was at the University of Arkansas, Little Rock, and so they hired me to deliver the keynote speech in the arena, in the basketball arena, on Create Your Unicorn Career in STEM, to celebrate the eclipse, which was really cool, really cool.
So just a thought, like when you think about careers in general, you said a few things, like something that gives you meaning, that earns you money. What's your philosophy to creating a unicorn career?
Yeah, it's joy, meaning, and money. So and by the way, Kambiz, am I allowed to curse on your show? I just want to clarify.
I'm not censoring anything.
Okay, all right, cool. So there's a whole chapter in my book called Your Unicorn Finances, and the point that I wanted to make, and this relates to your question, is we're often told, follow your passion, follow your love, love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life. And with all due respect to anybody who says that, that's bullshit, because you have to get paid. You need money. We need money.
Was that all you meant about cursing?
That was what I meant. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I have other courses in the book. I might share some of those as well. But I don't think that we should be talking about passion. Passion is important, but passion does not pay your rent. It doesn't give you food. So passion is relevant, but what's more important is for you to better understand who you are and then use that knowledge to be able to uncover gaps that exist and problems that exist that you are uniquely qualified and interested in solving that will deliver money to you and the other person. So it's really about creating value in society that society values itself. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't volunteer. It doesn't mean that you can't be philanthropic. That is a part of building what I call your unicorn life, which is the bigger system of your career, your family, your retirement, your community, your faith, and everything you do to serve humanity that is not coming with money. But if we're going to talk about careers and jobs are a business transaction, which means you've got to get paid. And that means the other party is somehow getting a monetary reward as well from the value that you provide. So that's what I mean by that.
Right. And Alaina, before we close, I was wondering if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? Is it via LinkedIn, via email? How does someone reach out?
Thank you. So anybody is welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Alaina G. Levine. I'm also Alaina G. Levine on all the other socials as well. I'm very easy to find. And you can also go to my website, alainalevine.com, and I'm going to give a $5 off coupon in the show notes for your listeners to buy the ebook version of Create Your Unicorn Career for $5 off on my website so that they can do that.
And we'll put all of these links in the captions. If not immediately after this stops going live, we'll update it with all the links.
Exactly.
So the link to get the book will be there, and connections to your website and LinkedIn profile, right?
Yeah. And we'll also put the Calendly link. So if anybody wants to book a free 15-minute meeting with me, they are welcome to do that.
Excellent. Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we sign off?
Kambiz, I just want to share that I have continuously been so impressed with your career and with your life. And, I remember when we were in high school, you were the first person in our high school to publish a paper. And tell me if this is my memory is wrong, because I'm in perimenopause now.
I don't remember
everything. But am I right in remembering that when we were in high school, you were doing a research project and you actually published a paper on the mechanism of how a certain type of lizard, when their tail is cut off, grows the tail back? Is that correct? Am I remembering that right?
No, I didn't publish anything, but what happened was in high school, I'd finished the math and science classes, and Princeton University was close by. And in my senior year, they let me ride my bicycle over and take multivariable calculus. I used to be a math guy, but the teacher there was a TA, Russian-speaking teacher's assistant, and he really couldn't speak English. And my interest in math just plummeted. But I was also taking biology there, and the professor there, Thomas Schenk, was so excellent. He gave us a lot of the seminal research papers to read, and my interest in math just climbed. And after the class, I went into the biology building at Princeton University, and I just looked for like a grown-up, and I said, I loved the idea of regeneration. When you cut a salamander's tail, it grows back. And I said, is there anyone studying this? And she took me by the arm and walked me to the lab of a professor who was studying that, and a postdoc there took me under his wing. And that was one of my first stints in an actual experimental lab, and going on this scientific path.
I love this. It really is emblematic of why you've been so successful in all of your ventures and in your career, in your unicorn career, as a scientist, as a leader, as a business leader, as a speaker, as a connector, as a world traveling nerd. I mean, you are not afraid to ask for opportunities. You are not afraid to go forward and solve hard problems, to bring people together. I mean, this is why you've been so amazing. And I always think back to that moment, and thank you for clarifying my recollection of it. I always think back to that moment, that what you were able to do as a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old. And I just think it is a window into why you're so successful today.
Well, thanks. I mean, I don't know that I'm successful. It feels like a work in progress, and always what's next. Yeah. And it's been great having you on, Alaina. Wish you all the best with your unicorn career. Looking forward to read your book too.
Thank you so much. Kambiz, you've been amazing, and it's just been so great getting to know you more through this program, and I wish you the very best. Thank you.
Great, and thank you everyone for joining us today.